Hello, my name is Mavis Amankwa and welcome to my model on why applications fail. Just to remind you, my name is Mavis Amankwa, as I said earlier, and I'm the funding lady specialising in funding for CICs, social enterprises, charities and social entrepreneurs. So if you have a project in mind, a community-based project here in the UK, and you want funding to run your project, initiative or campaign, you are in the right place. My model today is going to talk about why applications fail. There are so many funding opportunities here in the UK for community based initiatives, but there is also a lot of competition and there are also a lot of rejections and declines. And if you've just started your CIC, social enterprise, or charity, you may be new to this game. But I'm going to be sharing with you today, giving you a little guide on why applications fail and what you need to do to improve. And when we're talking about applications, we're talking about the grant applications, the bid applications, the applications to get the funding to secure money for your project, your initiative, or your campaign. So let's get started. Why do applications fail? So the first thing is a lot of organizations apply for funding where they are not eligible. So they go for the funding without reading the eligibility criteria. So what tip I would like to give you here is make sure you read the eligibility criteria to ensure that your organization fits the eligibility and fits it very well. Most eligibility criteria will have 3 or 4 points in regards to getting the funding. Make sure you fit at least one, but it will be much better if you could fit 2 or 3 or all of the eligibility criteria, because that is going to make your application stronger and stand out from the rest and competition. So eligibility is one of the reasons why applications fail. So make sure you do check. And if it's not for you, as I say, always there is so much funding available here in the UK for community-based initiatives. So you just need to look for the right one where you and your organisation will be eligible. The next one is not getting feedback from previous funders. So maybe you have applied for so many grant applications and you're just getting, sorry, declined, you have not got through to the first round, or we won't be able to fund your project. And without getting the feedback from the previous funder, your application may fail and will fail because you're not getting feedback. So, if you can, anytime you do apply for any kind of grant funding application, try your best to get feedback from the funder so you know where to improve, what you need to do to make your application stronger for this particular fund or any future funds. So, do look at your previous funding and ask the funder, where possible, can you show me where it went wrong or what I didn't do or what we didn't put in properly, where did we miss, so that you are able to make sure that you improve your application for the future. The next one is poor governance. Now, in some of my previous videos or some of my previous models, I talk about governance. Governance is one of the key things that is really important for your funding application. Making sure you have the right documentation, making sure you have the right policies, templates, and the right information in regards to governance. Governance is key when it comes to funding, because most of the funding that you apply for are through donations, are through grants, and can come in from public funds as well. So you need to make sure that your governance is actually 100% seamless. So you would need to ensure you've got all the right policies in place, all the right templates, and looking at what the governance criteria will be for most funders. And that includes your board of directors or trustees if you are a charity, or your directors if you are a CIC or social enterprise. You also need to look at the banking as well, because most funders will tell you that they need at least two people on the bank account who are unrelated. Or they may say that we need three directors in order for you to apply for this funding. So you would need to make sure you read the criteria and ensure your governance is robust. You also would need to look at your organization online, make sure if you are a registered charity on Charity Commission, all your accounts are up to date, all your information is up to date. And if you are CIC or social enterprise, you would need to look at Companies House and make sure you are active. Poor governance can include non-trading as well. So if on Companies House it says that your company is dormant, then that means that your organization is not in operation, for example. So governance is key, and make sure you have a checklist and keep ensuring each month or every quarter you look at all your governing documents and make sure they're up to date. This also includes your memorandum of association or your constitution. So governance is one of the reasons, poor governance, shall I say, is one of the reasons why applications fail. So make sure you look into this thoroughly. And if you're not sure, get in touch with us. I can tell you more, or just ask someone who has experience within this area to point you in the right direction. The next one is your organization didn't meet the criteria. Again, when an organization sees funding, they get very excited, really excited about the fund, the project, they visualize what's going to happen, and they don't read the criteria. So, what I always advise is get at least one or two people to read the criteria to see if you fit in with the criteria, if you match the criteria, and then think about applying. Criteria matching, governance, due diligence, and also making sure everything is really together is very important when it comes to getting your application approved by the funder. So, meeting the criteria is key to avoid your application failing. The next one is lack of evidence, not having the right evidence. So you've got a really good application, but you haven't actually shown or demonstrated, one, your organization is capable of doing the project that you said you want to do. Two, you don't have any evidence from the past of what you have done. And three, you haven't actually done a project like this before. So it is your first time. Now, depending on the funding, depending on the criteria and the eligibility, some funders will ask for evidence. So they want to see the team, they want to see the trustees, they want to see the board members, directors, in terms of their experience and also what information they have in terms of evidence of what they've done in the past. And again, any work that you have done for your organization, whether it's a food bank or any kind of campaign that you've had, you need to have the evidence. And the evidence could include photos, including imagery, videos. It can also include documentation such as surveys, questionnaires, asking people how they went, and ensuring that you have all this evidence to hand to show the funder in a summary. So, lack of evidence is another reason why applications fail. The next one, which is one that is always going to be a sticking point, is competition. Competition is fierce in the industry of grants and funding because there are so many great initiatives out there, people doing some great work, but there's not money for everybody. The money comes in pots. They would say, the funder would say, we have a pot of £60 million, and within that, they have to fit in as many organisations as possible that fit the eligibility and also the overall criteria and the terms and conditions too. So make sure your application stands out. And you can do that by ensuring that you are able to give a very good demonstration on what you have done, on the project that you're proposing, and also on the outcomes, as well as evaluation, monitoring, budgeting, reporting, and again evidence on what you have done and what you are about to do. Is it realistic? Competition is very, very fierce in this market, as I said earlier. So you would need to ensure that you are up to speed, and anything that you do, you are able to show and demonstrate that. And that's why it's very important that you have social media, you have a website, and there is evidence to show what you have done. So when the funder looks online at your organization and what it has done, it will be it will show clearly and it will stand out from the rest. So try your best to beat the competition. The next one is unrealistic outcomes. You need to be able to show what you want your project to be and how many people are going to benefit from your project, campaign, or initiative. A lot of organizations think that if they give more numbers, they're going to have a much better chance of securing funding, which isn't necessarily true. When you are looking at outcomes, look at the budget, look at what you're trying to do, your resources, how realistic it is in terms of the outcomes of how many people are going to benefit. And always remember that when you are doing your outcomes, people will drop out. So if you are doing something with an expected outcome of 15 people finding a job and getting into work, you would probably need to onboard 25 to 30 people because people do drop out. So you need to make sure your outcomes, your evaluation, your expectations are very clear from the outset and they are realistic. Do not just put numbers, big numbers, and think that's what's going to basically secure the funding, because it's not based on numbers. It's based on the things that I mentioned earlier. So unrealistic outcomes is definitely one to look at. The next one is not following the guidelines. It is integral, vital, and very important that you follow the guidelines. So each funding application is different. Guidelines could be in terms of word count. Each funder normally gives you a description of what they are looking for. So they'll give you a question and there's normally a description or example. So try your best to follow the description and examples and follow the guidelines, because sometimes we get so carried away and excited about our project that we actually don't follow the guidelines of the funder. So look at the things like the terms and conditions, the word count, how you need to explain yourself, the expectation, and even sometimes it's the formatting of how you're going to present your information. When we look at a lot of funders, they're not really into the fancy looking proposals that look really good aesthetically. They are more into the actual content, the information that you are putting together. So make sure you follow the guidelines clearly. And if they say we want it in a format of PDF, don't send it in Word. If they say we want it on the portal, make sure you put it on the portal. So make sure you follow those guidelines, because those things will actually get you eliminated to go to the top to get approved. The next one, and this is one that comes up regular, is budget. Your budget is not realistic. So let's say you've got a budget of £15,000 to run a program for young people to get into work. They're not in training, employment, education, and you need to get a certain amount of them into work, helping them with CV writing, interview skills, functional skills, but the budget is not realistic. I always advise that you put together a budget for your project and see how you can make sure that it is smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So you need to make sure that your budget is clear. And when it comes to projects, your budget needs to include everything for the project. So, what is it that I need from beginning to end to make this project work, to make this campaign work, to make this actual initiative successful? And when we're looking at budget, we could be looking at project costs, which is for the particular project, or core costs, which are things like salary, or capital costs, such as equipment. But you need to be realistic about what you're going to be doing with the budget, how many people are going to be benefiting from it in terms of your outcomes, how much you need to spend, and how much things are. It's always good to get at least 3 quotations for your applications so that the funder will see that you've done your homework, you've gone and found out how much is it for a laptop, and you would be able to compare the different prices of the laptop and then work out this is the average price of a laptop. So your budget must be realistic. The next one is no facts or statistics. Very important. When you are putting your proposal together, you want to show some research. You want to show you've done some research, you've got some facts. So here are the facts about young people in a certain area who are out of work. This is how many they are. This is the amount of them that are not in training education or, not in training or education or work. This is what the statistics says about them in terms of their local area. This is their ethnicity. This is their age. This is the type of jobs they're looking for. So you need to have factual information, which is normally primary research with some secondary research, and also statistics, so a percentage of people who may be unemployed within a certain area, for example. So the facts and statistics are crucial, and make sure you add both of those into your proposal. That shows that you are very, very clued up about your project, your people, the facts, and the stats. The next one is not having a smart strategy. So the funder will ask you now, how is your project going to work? How's it going to run? So the how, the if, the but, the why, the when, the outcome, the evaluation, the budget, the proposal, the idea, how many people, the outcomes, the evaluation, the reporting. You need to ensure that every single area covered is realistic in terms of smart, that it makes sense and you're able to strategize. So let's say you're doing a 18-week course for young people out of work within a certain area. What is the strategy from beginning to end? So the preparation, the marketing, the promotion, how you're going to spend the budget. Is it going to be for events? Is it going to be online? Is it offline? What is needed? What do you need to buy? Where's the location? So it's been very clear and having a smart strategy from the beginning to the end of the project in terms of measurement, in terms of deliverables, achievables, and outcomes. So make sure you have a smart strategy. And again, outcomes. I keep talking about outcomes because funders want to see. They want to see your outputs, they want to see your outcome, and they want to see that these are clear. So you need to ensure with your outcomes and your outputs, they are realistic and they also can be measured in a very simple way. So the funder will look at your proposal and go, this looks good. We want to get 15 people into work. And from that, we should have 5 people that will be able to go on to get a long-term job of employment. So that's touching on the outcomes of employability. The next one is didn't explain the project well or clearly. You have a certain word count to tell a story about your organization, about your project, how much you're going to spend, how it's all going to happen. So you need to be able to explain the project well and clearly so that the funder can see the story from beginning to end and see the middle and see the vision of what you're trying to do, what you've done in the past and what you are achieving or what you're trying to achieve in terms of your deliverables, in terms of your budget, your reporting, evaluation, the actual project, who's involved, what staff is needed, what equipment is needed. So it's been able to explain your project well within a certain word count. And not every funder is going to speak to you on the phone. Not every funder is going to interview you. Most funders are actually taking all the information that you've given them on the proposal to make their decision. So it's very, very important that you make it clear. The next one is directors and trustees are not briefed. So they're not briefed about the actual project. If the funder does call them or ask for more information via an interview if needed, the director and the trustees are not briefed and they're not able to give a true justification of how the project's going to work, what it's going to look like, and there isn't any togetherness. So you as a director, you as a trustee, you need to make sure that you communicate, that you document all your meetings and brief your directors and trustees on the project in hand, the proposed project, and how it's going to work and run, and have all of this documented as well. The next one is not solving a needed problem. I always say, what is the problem and the need? What solution are you providing? Need, problem, need, solution. So you need to make sure that what you are proposing solves a problem. Solves a problem in terms of making sure that you could get a certain amount of people, young people, onto your program, help them with employability, CV writing, help them with interview skills, and working on a problem. And the problem here is employability, getting young people into work. So you need to ensure that what you are proposing is solving a problem, a community issue, initiative that is going to make a difference, whether it's through the environment, whether it's through a community from a demographic perspective or a community from a geographical perspective. You need to know and you need to show, that you are solving a problem. Next one is doesn't add up. So your information on your application is contradictory. Look at your website, look at your social media, and what you've put on the actual application doesn't add up or doesn't justify what you're saying you're going to do. So you need to make sure that your application is flawless and seamless in terms of it matches up with what you have online, what you've put in the application form, and all the information that you have out there, including your governing documents and all of the documents that you would need to add to your application. For example, some funders may ask for accounts. So you might say the turnover is this amount, this was how much you made last year, and then when we look at the accounts, the figures are different. So you need to make sure everything adds up, everything is seamless, works together, works parallel, and also at the same time is not contradictory, because the funder gets hundreds of applications. You want your application to go right to the top. You want your application to be funded. So you need to ensure that your application, in terms of the information, adds up and is not contradictory, because the funder will just put that one at the back of the pile and say, oh, don't get this one. And that would get you a failure. And that's why applications fail. Not a constant flow. So no constant flow. Very important that your information flows. So when you're filling out the forms, they actually ask the questions in a certain way so that they can flow, and your answer should flow through. So again, ensure that the information that you have is consistent, and also it constantly flows to tell a story, which in simple words has a beginning, middle, and end. So I want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this session, Why Applications Fail. My name is Mavis Amankwa. If you want to know more, go to the Stand Store and get some more of the products. And most importantly, if you have any questions, do message us on our contact details. And finally, good luck, and make sure you work towards not making your application fail. I'm wishing you every success.